Okay. And this video is squatting versus deadlifting and the bone structure, specifically that. Squatters versus deadlifting. This is a really interesting topic and very useful and practical to help you with your exercises and exercise selection and strategy and technique and all that. Yeah, I actually came across this subject quite a few years ago, and I've thought about it over the years, and I guess picked up little things about it over time. But yeah, I came across this topic in this book right here quite a few years ago, the third edition, Strength Training Anatomy. And yeah, this is basically it. It's like a squatter has short limbs and a deadlifter has long limbs. And a squatter normally has a longer spine and shorter limbs, and a deadlifter has a shorter spine and longer limbs. And I fall into the deadlifter category, more into it. And so you might not be a full-on squatter or a full-on deadlifter. You may be some kind of combination, but it's binary. So there's only two choices. So you're probably going to fall into one or the other category and not like perfectly on the level in between. So yes, see if I can describe this. See, this is a squatter, and this is a deadlifter. And see, he stands more upright, and he's got the shorter thighs. This is like an extreme variation. And what was he talking about here? That one's the ankle flexibility, and this is the deadlifter. See, this is the squatter with the short thighs, and this is the deadlifter. So deadlifting with the long thighs creates more of a fulcrum to where you're in this squat deficit position, and it's harder to get out. So it's harder to do a deadlift if you're a squatter, and harder to do a squat if you're a deadlifter. But I closed the book, so can't go back to it. But you can still, if you're a deadlifter, you can still work on squats, and a squatter, you can still work on deadlifting. It just takes more priority and also modification and supplemental exercises help with that as well. Yeah, so that's the first few points. See, I got all my notes right here. Yeah, I'm getting more into these videos. And so the content's really good because I have the notes, but I'm still working on more of a smooth and poetic delivery, tying everything together. I was really good at English. I'm more of a literary person than a math person, so I should be pretty good at making this comprehensive and systematic. And so like the differences, it's similar to ectomorph, endomorph, and mesomorph. And there are probably these differences just tribally, needing like diversification of labor, and different people need physical labor skills within a tribe to get things done. Probably, that's just kind of my guess. Yeah, the ectomorph is taller and skinny and good at running. And mesomorph is like more stocky, compact, and muscular, solidly muscular. And the endomorph is more kind of like overweight, like kind of like a fat person. And so an endomorph could actually be more in the category of mesomorph or ectomorph if they drop a lot of body fat. And then most people are also a mixture of these three types: ectomorph, endomorph, and mesomorph. So they don't necessarily fit neatly into one category. They may be a mesomorph with ectomorphic tendencies or something like that, or an ectomorph with endomorphic features. So squatters are generally more mesomorphic because of the shorter limbs, and deadlifters are generally more ectomorphic because of the long limbs. And I actually remember that. I just remember mesomorph is the muscular, and ectomorph is the long and skinny, and then it's endo and ecto. And I can remember endo just like the word doughy, endo and doughy. That's how I remember endomorph. And then so from there I know ectomorph as the lanky one. Just kind of a memory trick. And so ectomorphs or deadlifters so they'd be mesomorphs with endomorphic traits, ectomorphic traits. So, mesomorphs with the deadlifter's bone structure would be Mr. Olympia, Dorian Yates, and Ronnie Coleman, which are like the biggest, most freakiest mass monsters that there were. So you can be a deadlifter's bone structure and be a mesomorph. But the deadlifters also seem to be more common, the lankier than a squatter's bone structure. You generally see more people who are good at deadlifting than squatting. And so like potential. Let me think. Okay, just make sure I don't miss anything. I missed some stuff in the last video. It wasn't anything big deal, but I still don't want to miss any points. A potential drawback of a squatter. Squatter's bone structure is overdeveloped lower body and underdeveloped upper body. And then a deadlifter, you may have overdeveloped upper body and underdeveloped lower body. So that's a potential problem that you need to should prioritize and work on. And so squatters are, I'm going to go into more specifically squatters and then deadlifters. So squatters are good at squats because of the short thigh bones, but also because of the short leg bones, they often have short arm bones, so they're also good at bench press. Hence the mesomorph. And their arms and legs fill up faster because they're shorter limbs, so they fill up faster. But if you have really long limbs and you can fill them up, they may be more impressive because they're longer and bigger. But it's generally easier to fill in the frame with a muscle. But the squatter's problem is that they may have an underdeveloped back muscles because the deadlift. And so this is mostly if you're fitting neatly into the category, like if you fit more. I'm going more the extremes of the spectrum instead of like towards the middle. And I guess I fit a little more closer to the extreme in the deadlifter's bone structure. Because I'm pretty good at the deadlift, but the squat I have to work on a lot. But I'm naturally just really, really good and easy at the deadlift. So they may have trouble with developing the back, deadlifts, bent over rows, stiff-legged deadlifts. Tom Platz is the squat specialist. He's the one with like the older guy. Older generation, 80s bodybuilder who was known for his leg development, and fits really good into the squatters category. Although his arms are kind of long, but his legs and spine really fit into the squatters category. And he had a weaker back that he had to prioritize and make better. He didn't do stiff-legged deadlifts at all. Because he said it was hurt his back. It was like too taxing on the back. So that's kind of a drawback of the bone structure. Like you're good at the squats, but not stiff-legged deadlifts, which work more of the hamstrings. And it's also like the bodybuilding squat, which the legs are closer together, and you just squat straight down. That's how Tom Platz and ideally you would do it as a bodybuilder trying to develop the thighs. If you spread your legs out a little more, it works a little bit more the glutes and hamstrings, which is more for deadlifters' bone structure. So yeah, instead of actually explain that in the picture, instead of creating like a fulcrum, like a bend in the thigh bone to pick up the bar for a deadlift, it's like the thigh goes more parallel into a squat, and so it's difficult to get out of that position to lift the weight up for a deadlift. And so a squatter can develop a good back. Jay Cutler has the squatter's bone structure, but he did develop a good back, and a deadlifter can develop good legs. And his rival, Ronnie Coleman, developed really good legs, even though he has more of a deadlifter's bone structure and known for his back development. And so some tips for a squatter to develop their back are to prioritize the back and then research and practice the movements, the form. And so like instead of regular deadlifts, they may be more suited to rack pulls, which is you pull it off a rack or you put the weight on blocks. So it's not the full range of motion from the ground. It's elevated, maybe a foot or so. Or a sumo deadlift where they have their hands on the inside and the legs on the outside. Instead of a conventional where your hands are on the outside and your legs are on the inside of your arms when you lift up. And then also, instead of bent over rowing, they may gravitate more towards machine rowing. Although it's still it's still good and better to learn bent over rowing, but a quick kind of easy fix is the machine rowing. I guess you can do that while you're still trying to master the bent row. You can go ahead and get a jump on the process with the machine row. And instead of doing regular stiff-legged deadlift, which Tom Platz didn't do because structurally it wasn't good for him, you can do them with dumbbells. Yeah, I know Jay Cutler said he exclusively does stiff-legged deadlift with dumbbells. And you also, you generally don't like keep your legs straight. It's called stiff-legged deadlift, but you normally have like a kind of like a little micro bend in your knees when you do that movement. And then also on the bent over rowing, a squatter generally does the same bent over rowing motion as they do in the squat stance. So your legs are like a little closer when you do it, and a deadlifter generally has a little wider legs when they do bent over rowing. So that is the squatter. And now the deadlifting. And so, yeah, they may develop big upper bodies, but lack in leg size. And so the deadlift is number 2 to the squat. It's not as good as the squat as far as being the best compound exercise to stimulate overall muscle growth and hormone stimulation. And the squat is generally better, or pretty much is better, because it more directly and effectively utilizes and stimulates the leg muscles. The weight's like on top of your back, crushing you, and it's like you hinge at the hip, bend at the hips and everything to squat and come up. And so it's just a really good mass maker and a hormone stimulator. But the deadlift's still really good. And also, if you do deadlifts on a box, like a deficit deadlift, then it also incorporates more of the legs. So it's like a better version of the deadlift, and may catch up to the squat a little more. but it's safer to do deficit deadlifts if you have a deadlifter's bone structure. Because squatters a lot of times can hurt their back doing deadlifts, and deadlifters can hurt their back doing squats. So it's one of those things you have to be careful with, and practice the form and everything like that. But a natural squatter does squats really easy, and a natural deadlifter does deadlifts pretty easy. And so also the deficit deadlifts is like an advanced exercise for the deadlifter, but an advanced exercise suited to the squatter is the overhead squat, which also incorporates more of the upper body because you're holding it overhead and you squat with it, which also makes a good thing better because you have to keep your back more straight. So it improves your form more and also incorporates the upper body. It's like a supplemental beneficial exercise, and it's still not as good as like the regular basic back squat on your back, but it's a good supplemental exercise. Like the deficit deadlift is really good supplemental, but you generally can't use as much weight as just a regular deadlift off the ground. And so the deadlift isn't as good as the squat. But what kind of makes up for it is that a deadlifter is better at running because their legs are longer. So that's a big difference. Although a squatter is still pretty good at sprinting. But like generally going on like a 3 or a 5 mile run or something like that, a deadlifter's bone structure, the longer legs, it's a lot easier than a squatter's bone structure. The deadlifter is more it's more prone to bending their back when they squat. Let me see. Generally speaking, you have your legs a little wider, and it helps out with the form. And then. So for a deadlifter to develop their legs, it's the same thing as the squatter to develop their back. It's you have to prioritize the legs and then practice the exercises. You squat with a wider stance than someone like Tom Platz, who has his feet together really close. And then also a good exercise for a deadlifter is pistol squat, because you don't, a one-legged squat, because you don't really need any weight on your back. You can carry, you can have like a dumbbell on your shoulder, or like a light weight. I think I worked up to just 30 pounds, like a front squat, and do pistol squats with that. I mean, I'm sure if I had more times of it, I could work up to more. But generally, body weight is good enough with pistol squats. And it's a really good body weight exercise, kind of like how pull-ups are good for the back. And some quick fixes are, or workarounds are machines. Instead of the barbell squat, you may just do leg press or hack squat or Smith machine squat. Although the leg press and the hack squat may need more practice, still needs practice to be able to do it. Unlike kind of like a rowing machine, that one doesn't require a whole lot of practice. It's fairly easy to just get in a rowing machine and do rows. But a leg press and the hack squat do require technique and practice with that. And you can't, a big difference is you can't put your feet as low on the platform as a squatter. So the higher up on the platform, the more hamstrings you work, and the lower, the more quads you work. And so you generally have to put your feet more like in the middle of the platform, and still have a wider stance, but try to keep it as close as you can and still do the movement. But it still needs to generally be wider than a natural squatter's stance. And then also they have that new machine, the pendulum squat, which is very safe, very easy. Very safe and very easy. Um, it's a new machine which is really good for everybody to develop their legs. No real problems with leg curls, but they're also, a deadlifter is also better at stiff-legged deadlift, which is the hamstring exercise, a real meat and potato of the hamstring exercise, and the squatter may have more difficulty with that movement. And kind of reversing where, yeah, a squatter is maybe better at bench press than a deadlifter, but a deadlifter may have better hamstrings than a squatter. And then also for the longer limbed people on upper body movements, you can generally make a lot of progress faster, and it's really useful to do shorter, choppier reps. Whereas like someone with short arms, they do bench press, and you see them, and it's just like just a couple moves. But if you have like big, like big long arms, it's a really long motion. So you can do it, and you want to do it like in the hole, which is in the stretch position, and you just go like that instead of the full range of motion. You still want to do full range of motion, but you can incorporate the shorter range, and it can speed up your progress and pump up your muscles a lot faster. Same thing as pull-ups. Get up here and just go right here instead of the full pull-up. And yeah, it's incorporated. You want to more like incorporate it and not solely do the shorter range of motion. So you still want to do a full range of motion as well. So a lot of times, I think Ronnie Coleman would do like the choppier bench press, and then a couple, or maybe just one full range at the end, or something like that. He had like one or two full range and then a bunch of choppier ones. So I'll generally, like, a lot of times I'll do the choppier ones and then do like a few full range at the end. And then also, yeah, you definitely want to do it in the stretch position instead of at the lengthened position. Instead of going like that, you want to be down here and not up there. Because you're not really doing much if it's up here, but if it's in the stretched position, then you're really working it. And so that's the video. I'm like 20 minutes in. I've got a 30-minute limit. I could also go into fighting styles with shorter limbed versus longer limbed people. But I may make that another video. I guess I can talk about a couple things right quick. Longer limbs are generally more strikers, and shorter limb people want to pull you in close and grapple. But there are strikers with short limbs that go more on power, and grapplers with long limbs that do more jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and different strategies on takedown and takedown defense, like a deadlift. A deadlift position is good takedown defense, and like a squat is like a good position to take someone down. And also you may be like me, where I have like long limbs, but I'm still have like mesomorphic tendencies. Because you think of like a jiu-jitsu guy as like tall and skinny and lanky. I guess kind of like the Diaz brothers or something like that. They'd be more like a jiu-jitsu specialist, or Anderson Silva. He's like good at the striking and then works the jiu-jitsu. And they're not necessarily known for power, but they're more endurance. But fighters still generally have more mesomorphic tendencies. And then also you may have a shorter limbed person with good endurance, because an ectomorph has good endurance because running and stuff like that, and the mesomorph is generally more power, although it may not fit solely into each extreme. You may have fit far into one extreme in one category, and then you may be on the scale in another category. Like you have short arms and long legs, or something like that, or long legs and short arms. And then also for stretching as well. Squatters generally are, with the long spine, are better at back bends and stuff like that. And deadlifters generally better at splits and kicks and stuff like that. But that can be changeable. So it's not quite like fixed categories, but I'm just kind of giving the extremes on the spectrum, and you can kind of gauge where you're at from there, and cater exercises to your bone structure, and speed up the exercise process and make more progress from this information. Yeah, that's the video. I hope this was helpful and informative, and picked up some tips and tricks on how to exercise and stuff. So yeah, that's that. Stay tuned for more videos, and yeah, catch you in the next one.